Welcome to this interesting episode on data analytics, interview, questions and answer. So I welcome you all to this fun-filled, informative, more than fun-filled, it's not exactly fun-filled, informative. And now that you have done all the modules, starting from data ingestion, modeling, preparation, blending, data wrangling, so many terms, business intelligence, you have shown, visualization, everything is done. Now what? Now is the time when you are facing the world. And now you have to see that, okay, what are the arrows you have in your arsenal and how and when and where you will be triggering them. So you need to have complete control over your bow as well as your arrows also. So let's see what to shot or what to shoot in what case and how do we actually tackle these questions in a broader term. Let's see. So we all know that data is the new oil, but exactly sometimes you might be asked about that, okay, why data is the new oil? What is the reason? Why are we talking about, everybody is talking about data as a new oil, data as a new commodity, data is the new soil. So we have to compare this, we have to understand that if you understand the architecture of oil, how it worked, how it happened, and if you see what makes oil, so definitely all the materials, all let's say human or let's say if you talk about the animals or millions of years ago. So under pressure, actually, so if you talk about under pressure and some reaction that happens which makes this oil. So all these components, all these things are there. Now, if I say, if you just say that, okay, data is being captured only 2 years, 5 years, 10 years back, no. We have data, as I told you, we have, so first of all, we need to understand that the process of oil does not apply to data, first of all. However, with this data, we can actually leverage on top of this data to drive our business. So there, oil is used to drive vehicles, and then further the vehicles and all other things, or let's say factories or whatever it is, and finally it is driving the economy. Same here. So we are moving towards a data economy, you can say. So this data will drive organizations and organizations will drive the economy. That's why we are calling this and comparing this with oil. So now we say that, okay, if you talk about the concepts, why only data analytics? What are the characteristics that we can talk upon, right? So we need to understand that the data analytics has got different characteristics. You can, if you are a programmer, you can talk about performing some programmatic skills on top of the data, that is possible. If you are a business owner, you can look at data from the business perspective. And if you see that this entire process can be churned in many phases. So we can consider data to be in a spiral mode. You have smaller data, small insights. The more you go bigger and bigger, the insights are more. And it becomes more prescriptive, more predictive as we move forward. So then we have to understand, so people usually say that, okay, analytics, what is analytics and how does it impact or how does it define your salary? So different roles are there, we need to understand across the data science perspective. So we have data engineers also who need to be considered. We have data analysts also. So data engineer, the task would be to majorly, mine the data, get the data from different sources, and then make the data available or ready for consumers. Who is consumer of data engineer? Data scientists and data analysts are the consumers for data engineers. So salary depends. In today's world, if you may ask, that okay, it might start from as low as maybe 200k USD per year, and it may go to 500k USD also. There are people who are earning thousands and thousands and millions from churning data and understanding and giving the consultancy on data. So our company, and especially me, I also give consultancy on data, different types of data. So any type of business, you talk about entertainment, you talk about retail, you talk about finance, you talk about healthcare. So the idea is that we have seen so much of data that I can talk about these fields, I can talk about some niche kind of domains for hours, and then giving you insights with data, not only just talking about data. So the more what I have understood in my entire journey with data is that the more you strike a balance, I would say, in terms of the data and in terms of the business, the more likely you are to be in that particular domain, or in that particular business, or in that particular enterprise, or whatever. Only if you just talk on business will not work. So if you just talk about, it will be talking on air that okay, the business should work like this, business should work like that. So there are, if you talk about concepts, so there are, project management, there is framework for ITIL. So many things are there, how to run the business. But what you are adding to the business is the power of data. Now, only if you are working in silo, you just know how to perform ETL, how to mine data, how to retract data from one place, and then how to make some visuals. That is again a silo. So you should, whenever you are creating, it's like in older days, you must have, I'm just giving an analogy in terms of, let's say, Bollywood, if you just understand this. In older days, the songs that were put in a Bollywood film were situational. It was not done forcefully, if you just may say. However, if you look at today's scenarios, most of the cases you will find that the song is there just to induce some lighter music or heavy music or songs and item numbers and all those things. That's a formula that has become now. That in a movie, you need to have a item song, you need to have a sad song, you need to have a theme or something like this. But in olden days, you will see that they were situational. Same goes with the data analysis also. When you are preparing your visualizations, when you are developing your reports, it should be situational based on the business. So you need to understand the audience also, the people who will be consuming your business analysis and data analysis also. So you need to keep that thing in mind. So let's have an understanding of how the interview questions are formed, and what kind of interview questions might come, and then what are the best ways to answer them. So the first thing is, why digital transformation is the future of everything, and what is the role of data analytics in digital transformation. So often this question is asked in interviews, and just as you should not be just saying that okay, I think data is everywhere and that's why data transformation. No, there is a need for this. So first of all, we need to understand that we are growing in different aspects. If you talk about population, if you talk about gadgets, if you talk about equipments, if you talk about vehicles, do you see any of these declining? No. Number of vehicles increasing day by day. Population increasing day by day. Data points, touch points that you have, it's increasing day by day. So earlier, mobile phones increasing day by day. Internet penetration increasing day by day. So everything, when these all things are increasing, how can we have a stagnancy in data analysis? It has to also grow. So earlier, nobody talked about mobile data or let's say omni-channel, right? Everybody is talking about ERP. So now ERP is one type of data analysis. So you are now talking about Google Analytics, you are talking about omni-channel. Everybody is talking about omni-channel. So when you talk about digital transformation in the future, we need to understand that for every component, for every moment, for every instance, data is getting generated and they all need to be transformed, analyzed, visualized, and then consumed. So definitely there is a role of data analytics in the digital era or digital space. If I may just give you an understanding of the opportunity market. So this is somewhat, and I will not be wrong if I say that anything like this pandemic or any crisis in the past or in the future will have any impact on this growth. So why? Because, impact, I'm talking about the negative impact. It will not happen. It will always be a positive impact. I'll just give you a simple example. Let's say talk about the pandemic, talk about the crisis that we had in 2020 and now also in 2021 as well. What it has increased? It has brought a new dimension of data from a sector which we never thought in 2019, till 2019 also. Or even if we have thought, it was in a slow pace. I'm talking about education sector. Education, the data that was getting captured from education industry, you can understand, it was only related to the students to some extent, their fee structure, their admin structures, and how they are promoted, what are the tests, something. Now if you talk about in 2021, each and every detail of every student is available with the teacher. How they are behaving, how they are talking, how they are attending, everything. So now you know that, okay, this industry, if I have just given $1 billion, it might go to $1 trillion by the time we realize it. Data is increasing exponentially. If you talk about healthcare, so earlier healthcare analytics or healthcare data was what? Okay, if you talk about an hospital, so how many patients are coming, how many patients are converted from outpatient to inpatient, what is the capacity of the operation theater, the utilization, staff, FTE, all these things. Today in healthcare sector, we are talking about connected devices wherein the patients are given a wristband, which is nothing but an IoT. It can sense your pulse, it can sense your oxygen, it can sense your heart rate, your number of steps and everything, exercises, blood pressure or whatnot. Everything is getting monitored. So each patient, we have so much of data. So now this is a win-win situation. So when a person comes to you for taking a health insurance, we have a completely different concept altogether. So just think about these ideas when you are answering these questions in an interview. So an insurance company now, if I go to an insurance company and say that I need a health insurance, they will not give you any premium or something. Forget, gone are those days. They will give you a kit. They'll say, for us to give you the best price, we would request you to wear this kit for next 1 week. And so suppose today is, let's say, a Monday, you please visit us back on Monday and we will be ready with your quotation. So this particular device will track everything and anything from you for next 7 days. Imagine the data we are talking about. So maybe some people will know that, okay, something is getting monitored. Some people will not know. So if you talk about people in billions, they hardly 10% who will understand that this is an IoT and what kind of parameters they are checking. But then what happens 1 week later, when you go to the insurance company, they will say, okay, we are ready with your quotation. We see that you have a very different sleeping pattern. You sleep in days and then you wake up, you are awake in the night. So that causes health problems, basically. So that's why your BP is also high, your saturation level is also low, oxygen saturation is low, your pulse rate is very, very, it's not in a, synchronized manner. So it is fluctuating, something like this. So many parameters. So you have to pay a high price of premium. Because, so now it's a win-win situation for the customer also. Now, if the customer is aware of this trend, the customer now will first of all make himself or herself healthy before approaching an insurance. And if you really have a problem, then insurance company is there with you anyways, right? But they require you to satisfy the prerequisites. This is coming up, I'm telling you, as a big industry now. Retail, we already have something like, retail stores, online, offline, and they're trying to merge this as omni-channel. So that is coming up in a big way for the retail industry also. And we will have something like MBA, market basket analysis. Sorry. Then you have recency frequency monitoring. This will be the generic case studies for any given retail. This is not luxury anymore. If you want to do a marketing campaign, you need to target audiences. You cannot just force something to all audiences. Why? Because regulations are coming up. Very, very stringently, consent, privacy policies, all these things are coming up. Telecom regulatory authorities will absolutely have a bigger role to play. So before you receive a marketing campaign, you need to give consent to that company to give that marketing campaign. So you know now retail is how it is going to change. So it is going to change in a big, big way. So imagine the industry wherein you first give the consent that, okay, I want to accept marketing campaigns, and then only you get it. Otherwise, you should not be getting it. It's a infringement of privacy policy. So data policies, data privacy, GDPR and all those policies are there. They will become harsher and harsher. And with the growth of data, suddenly you will see this requirement of cybersecurity, requirement of data cloud computing and data architectures, and cloud-based architectures and computing facilities and all. They will come in a big way. Everywhere we are generating data. You talk even in terms of the retail, we are generating data. Healthcare, generating data much more than what we used to generate a decade ago or even 5 years ago. So if data is getting generated in leaps and bounds, definitely the analytics space is going to increase. You talk about e-learning. So now what can happen is a school can decide if I'm talking about a quality good school who just don't take everybody as an admission. So they will be able to see the analysis of the child prior to the admission. And then based on whether the child is average, below average, good or very good, based on that they can create a batch, and then they can have segmented approach to kids. So every kid, I cannot expect to have a teacher for every kid in a school, but there could be a group. And these groups could be cohorts kind of. The schools will also soon have cohorts, and they have enough data for that. So if not today, just wait for a couple of years and you will see enough data generated for the e-learning space as well. And data analytics would be required in a large scale, even for doing admissions, even to maintain the school, even to, I'm not talking about the admin part, the ERP part, that is a different ball game altogether. Let it be there. I am talking about actually the thing that matters to the school, the children, the education, the content, the delivery, the mechanism, the chapters, the exercises. I am talking from that granular level. That kind of analytics is coming to the schools very, very soon. And we are ready. Then comes agri-tech. Agri-tech, so many things are happening and we need to be aware of these things when you are answering the questions. So agri-tech and data analytics absolutely go hand in hand. Imagine a bank. So imagine a bank who is giving loans, a microfinance bank maybe. So today they are giving loans to farmers just like that. Let's say collaterals or something, some bond or something, they give it. Imagine they integrate satellite imagery with the loan disbursement. Can you imagine the sector that we are talking about? Can you imagine the growth opportunities that we are talking about? Can you imagine the risk mitigations that we are talking about from the bank? So the moment a farmer comes, so farmer prior to that, again the same concept. So farmer just need to say that where is my land? An image, where is my land? You show me, this is my land, this is my area. Satellite imagery will immediately say. And then with the help of analytics, bank will immediately come to know last 2 years, 3 years. Farmer has to do nothing. Farmer has to just locate where is the location of the farmland. That's it. And then last 3-4 years data, immediately they will understand that whether the farmer is genuinely asking for the loan to ramp up the business or to mitigate the challenges that he is right now having or whatever. So real genuine farmers will get genuine loans, and the bank will also be relaxed in terms of mitigating the risk. These all things are coming up. Data analytics is going to play a big role, more than whatever you can think of today as well. And I am just talking about the top 4 sectors. You tell me, you give me any sector. You give me a sector of entertainment, you give me sector of maybe mobility, you talk about finance, you talk about banking, you talk about any other domain. Everywhere data analytics is going to play a very important role. Coming back to the next question. So are data cleansing skills must for data analysts? How do we master them? Yes, it is very important to understand the cleansing activities. So even if you are focusing on the processing part, you should know how the data is coming till that process part. So starting from the development, starting from the standardized perspective and approach that we follow for the data cleansing. So these are the 5 stages actually. So first of all, you have the develop phase, standardize. So develop, you just have the model to ingest the data. First of all, you identify the sources. Is my data, are my data sets all there in the relevant conditions, ready to be ingested to the model, the data model that we're talking about. Then comes the validation phase, which is also important, just to check that, okay, are all my validation parameters set or not. So those all things. Dedupe is very important to identify the duplicates within the data and remove them. So dedupe is a very important concept and technique that we follow in data cleansing activities. And finally, we process the data ready to be ingested into the data model. Next question, what is the difference between a data mining and data profiling? So let's understand it in detail. So when you talk about the data, mining terms, in terms of the cleansing activities only. So data mining is actually talking about finding these 3 things: the correlation, anomalies and trends. This we have already discussed in the modules. How do we find out? How do we go about looking into each and every attribute and see what are the possible cases of correlation, checking of correlation, what are the possible cases of understanding the trends within the data, and what are the possibilities of understanding the anomalies within the data. So those all things are a part of finding patterns in the data. Then comes the profiling. So profiling is a bit different over here. So profiling, what happens is you are there talking and examining the summaries of the data, aggregating and then checking that, okay, how can I cluster this data in different formats? I'm just giving you an example about, let's take an example consumers or customers or customer data for any retail store, and they have to do some marketing campaign. So first of all, understanding the patterns, which columns they should take. Should they take the transaction data? Should they take the direct operational data? Or should they take the loyalty data into consideration while working? So that is the mining part. So there they check out the anomalies and everything. And then after they have got the data intact, then they run the algorithms. So whether they are talking about the RFM or the MBA, so what the ideal case is to find out the segment. So I'll just give you a simple example how this segmentation works. So we talk about neural networks and all those things. If you are aware of that, then fine, you can talk about that, or cluster analysis if you want to talk. You can talk in the interview if you are confident about. But in general, you can talk definitely about profiling as understanding the groups of any given data. So it could be data of customers. It could be data of transactions. It could be data in bundles of let's say any other process in healthcare or anywhere. So let's take an example from the retail perspective. So let's say we have found out from data of last, let's say 2 years, that we could segregate, we could segment the data in 10 different or 9 different clusters. So how this is done? So this is done using KNN method, and this is done using the elbow method to find out the value of K, and then we define the clusters, that how many of them fit into these clusters. Now how does marketing actually should be working over here? So here what you do, once you have identified the cluster, you say that okay, this is cluster A, and within this cluster A I have 1,000 customers. Now how did the algorithm put this into cluster? So it went through all the attributes. So this is where attributes is very important. So suppose when you are capturing all the customer data, you have several attributes talking from the perspective of, let's say, the salary of the people. I mean, if you talk about the customers, how many children they have, how old is their marriage, and all these parameters. I mean, their health conditions, their age group, and whether they live in a joint family or nuclear family. So many parameters. The more attributes you have, the better is the cluster. Now I'll just give you an example. So you pick up that 1,000 cluster, and you see that within this 1,000 cluster, there are customers who are spending around, let's say, 1,500 USD in a quarter in, let's say, jewelry purchase, or maybe fashion jewelry or accessorize or whatever the things are. They do that. So out of 1,000, so there are 100 people who are putting that money in a quarter. How did you come to know? Because they're doing the transactions within your purview of business. That's why. So now, based on the analysis, you can come to a conclusion saying that out of these 1,000, if 100 have that capability, because of the other parameters, all the attributes we have taken, ideally the rest 900 should also be capable of making that investment. We don't know, because they might be using some other stores, or they might be using some other cards to, or some other mode of procurement, or other mode of payment. We don't know. So we don't know that market itself. So then what you do, you go for a survey for this all 900 customers who are not spending. And then you understand the customer demographics and customer deeper understanding. And then based on that, you release the marketing campaign. So it's a long process, but things are getting stringent and stringent. Let me be very, very clear on that. So when you answer these questions on data profiling and mining, you need to take care of the understanding of data governance and policy implementations as well. What is the role of linear regression in statistical data analysis? This is a very generic question, and you can just give very, very clear answer to this. So linear regression, or we talk about simple equation, linear equation, talking from the perspective of y is equal to mx plus b. So here what you have to do is, you have to understand some terms. So we talk about y which is dependent variable, x which is independent variable, and then we have m and b which are slope and intercept. So now what you need to come across is the equation, and if you come to that equation part, then you will be able to explain more. You need to consider the concepts of r square also and say that r square is nothing but the residual distance between the best fit line and the data point. And then the more it goes towards 1, the better is the usability of that particular model. So what do you mean by usability of the model? If the usability of the model or the r square is going towards 1, the more it goes towards 1, the better will be the use of this model to predict data. That's the task of linear regression. So to help you to do forecasting as well. We have already covered that in the module. You have to just refresh that and then come back. So here you can see the case where the outlier was there. And there you need to understand the outlier, data sets, patterns, and the data points, observations, all these things you need to say. And then what you need to do is you need to see that if you remove the outlier, what is the impact that is happening on r square, and what is the impact that is happening on this y is equal to mx plus b equation as well, the linear regression equation. So this is the kind of thing that we need to explain. How do we define the 3 pillars of data model? Again, a very, very important question, and we need to make sure that you explain this in a very, very simple manner. So that's what the ask is when we talk about this particular term. So data model, always remember, is made up of 3 basic and fundamental pillars: facts, dimensions, and measures. So facts are nothing but all the numbers, figures that you generate or that you collect from different places. Dimensions are the attributes, or you can call it as the data sets which perform the qualitative or which takes care of the qualitative part. So facts, quantitative analysis. When you say, if somebody says that, okay, I want to just do quantitative analysis, just run some statistical model, I don't want to talk about the attributes of that. So I'm talking about the quantitative. So which means that you know that in your analysis, you need to only consider facts. Dimensions cannot work alone. So just remember this thing. So facts still can work alone. You can just have a fact table and you can just see, okay, what is the maximum, what is the minimum, average, and do some mean, median, mode, and all these things you can just churn out, and from the fact you can get the details. Dimensions has to work with fact. So dimensions are more of like a qualitative analysis that you are performing on top of the facts. And measures, definitely they go hand in hand with the dimensions and the facts to give you more insights on a particular data. So measures, KPIs, you can what I may say that you can just map them with the dimensions and the facts as well. What is metadata? Very simple question. Answer can be also very simple. Data about data. So when you say metadata, so what we had, we have already we have already checked that in our modules also, when we were just looking into the ERP data from an XML perspective and from the OData perspective. That was metadata. So by itself, when you see that data, you will only know that this schema, this particular database has got this, tables or attributes, or not even going to attribute level. You can just see it from the data model perspective, data level, data set level perspective, subdomain perspective, but you cannot go to the attribute level perspective. So why it is important to understand the technical aspect of the data? We need to understand it from the business perspective also, and we need to understand it from the process perspective also. So every data has to be mapped into these 3 things. So metadata reveals the path of how do you connect a data to technical, business, and process chains actually. So what are the typical projects, typical steps that are carried out in a data analytics project? So this is also a very, very important question that might come up in a interview. So these are the steps. So first of all, understanding of the business. After understanding the business, so where you actually define the BRD, what we call it, the business requirements document. And after that, it goes to identification and connecting to the data sources. So first of all, based on the requirement, to identify the data sources, and then you attempt to connect to these data sources, which is very important. Then goes the ETL phase, where you clean the data. So you just remove the unnecessary data elements that you don't require. So we have done all these things in our modules. So you need to just go back and then check where we have done this data analysis part as well, and the cleanup part as well. Then comes the modeling part. Then comes the modeling part, means where you segregate the data and then say which is fact and dimension, and building up the measures. It also comes hand in hand with the data modeling part. And then comes the visualization part. So visualization is where you actually build up those charts and the illustrations out of your data. So that is one thing. And then comes your predictive analysis. So predictive analysis is the final part wherein you actually say that out of your data, this is the prediction that we can make. So based on your data, we can suggest A, B, C, D, whatever the terms are. Now, why it is connecting back to business requirements is that based on this, this is an ongoing process. Based on this predictive analytics, some other requirements will also come. And then it goes again back to the chain. So this is an ongoing. So I have never seen an organization who is in the growing path who has just done these steps once and then sustained. Not possible. This is an ongoing journey, and you have to tackle this question in a very, very you can say a precise manner, and say that these are the steps and these are the fundamental process that we take or carry out during this entire chain of data analysis. Talking about the checklist, so that you need for the next data analytics job. So let's have a understanding. So checklist, mainly first of all, you should have a good understanding. So spend some time in mathematics, I would suggest. Understand the basics of statistics. So this is the foremost thing I would say as a checklist part. So understanding some mathematical things, some statistical, very simple, mean, median, mode, average, and how do you do this sum, and then some time intelligence activities, QTD, MTD, YTD. So all these terms be acquainted with. That is the first task in the checklist. Then understand the business process. Try to understand the organization. You will not understand the business process before joining the company, right? But you will definitely be able to gather some insights from the website or the portal, or today information is available in abundance. If you really want to know about an organization, you can search and you can get n number of information. You know what is their requirement, why they are trying to hire you. So what is the sync that they are looking forward to within an employee who will join the organization. So try to find those things, and then during the interview focus on those sections. Statistical is one important thing, and then the business understanding, and the third part is the visualization part. How do you actually showcase your capabilities in front of the interviews? Remember that they are from HR. They have process knowledge of HR. They might or might not have process knowledge of business and operations. But if you are able to make them understand about business or HR or sales or any one of these domains in their language, in a very simplistic language, then I think you will be able to crack this particular section very easily, right? So checklist is very simple, but at the same time, it requires a good, quality time, I would say. I won't say good time, but quality time to understand the organization before you head for the interview. How is data analyst role different from a business analyst? Again, a very interesting question and very relevant question also. So business analyst, the BA, what we call it, they are actually they act as the licensing officers, we can say, who come in between the technical side or the team and the business side. So you require a licensing officer. I would say today that line is getting diminished very, at a fast rate. You will see more people getting hired as data analyst rather than business analyst. Or in some organizations, they focus on business analyst. What they say is that, okay, if you have understanding of business, which means you have an understanding of data, but might not be hardcore technical knowledge. So that's fine. We have developers who are completely working on the data domain itself. So people are more focused to a role wherein, they might call it as a data analyst role, or they might call it as the business analyst role, but the role is common. Common is that you should have some understanding of the business. You should be a good communicator, a good orator, good listener, and then you should be able to translate the requirements and also the business processes and the data understanding to and fro. From the business, from the business technical, you should be able to play both the role as required. So suppose if you have to create a measure, you should not be relying much on a team who is just there for developing measures or visualizing it. So you should be everybody is looking for all-rounder in the team actually in today's scenario, and it will grow, it will go, more, it will happen more actually. Top skills required, that's what we have already discussed. So the top skills are definitely the statistical. So you should love maths. That's the first thing. And then you should be having good communication skills. That is very, very important. And analytical capabilities. So mathematics, analytical or statistical analytical capabilities, and business. These are the three ingredients that you would require definitely to crack your dream data analysis job. That every organization, even our organization, also look for the same qualities. Soft skills. Are soft skills required? You can well understand after you have gone through these 8 modules, and this is the 9th version of the module that we are looking into, that if I was not able to tell this entire concept in a simple way, how it would have been. So you definitely require to possess soft skills in terms of achieving a sustainable career. So you should know your parameters of soft skills also. How are your personality traits? How is your eye contact? How is your rate of speech? How are you progressing towards making the other person comfortable? So all these things in terms of, not only just the data, you can say that, okay, it's put on the screen, you just understand it yourself. This is not going to be a sustainable career for you. So you should be able to speak the language of the business as well, and the language of the data as well. You need to strike a balance, and for that, soft skills is very, 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 very important in this career. What roles? Definitely you are expected to perform a role of a core data analyst. Sometimes you might be required to get into a role of if I may just let me just take some notes actually. So the roles that you might be required to possess, it could be, first of all, maybe asking the right questions. And before we begin the discovery of the data, you would be required to understand how to acquire data, process and clean data. These are the roles that you would require. And how to perform the initial data investigation, or EDA, what we call it. So that is also required. Understand and find out the best fit for the visualizations and understand what type of visualizations would be required for a particular given data. That is also important role that to be performed. Making adjustments in the visualizations, in the presentation based on the feedback, that is also important. And always have a capability to repeat a process to solve a new problem. So that is also one important thing. And communication is very, very important. So you are expected to take up the role of not only performing data analysis, but to convey your results to the stakeholders also. That is also very, very important. So in a nutshell, if I talk about the expectations, so you need to have statistical analysis. You need to have those skills. You need to have computer science, understanding also. Business intuition, understanding. Data storytelling, that is also important. Analytical thinking capabilities, critical thinking capabilities. These all things are expected from you in terms of being a superpower or a complete data analyst, right? So I often tell to my audience, to my going inside the career of data. So I say them that, okay, if your subject of excellence is computer science, then you should go to data science. Very, very simple statement. And if you have a knack and if you have a passion towards business, then you should come to this world of analytics. So analytics is where you are expecting or you are expected to show your passion towards data and understanding of the business. But if you say that, okay, no, core part, my skills are computer science skills, then I would recommend to you to go towards the data science field. A typical JD might look something like this. So you should have a degree in one of them. Either a maths or computer science or statistics, though degree is not a prime factor in today's world, but knowledge is required. A very good knowledge is required in terms of all these fields actually. By and large, understanding a big data set and the qualifications are also very, very important. Statistical and strong verbal and written communication skills are also important. Having an eye to detail, so to go into the detail of a particular problem. So starting from the bird's eye view to the granular level understanding. So that is very important from the data analyst role perspective. Right. So this brings us to the end of handling data analyst role questions and answers. Basically Q&A. So thank you for paying attention to this role, and I believe I was able to give you a complete insight about what is going in the industry and how we are progressing towards this approach of data analysis and how it is important and how you can actually gain excellence in this particular field and domain. So that's it from this particular module. Thank you for watching.